Alright, so this time around I'm going to be talking about skeletal based animation, and it's really related to the last one, the rigid animation. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you how to make joints, and then I'm going to be associating those with the file that I created last time. So I will open that file. I should have that on my desktop, and I'm going to be bringing it into this window here. So yep, don't save, continue, and that's the arm that I had. What I'm going to do here for all of these pieces is I will select them all, and then I'm going to do a marquee selection, or actually just right click or left click and hold shift to select all of these, and I'm just going to hit delete. That is going to be where these guys are located at. Now I'm going to select them, and I'm going to be resetting all of my rotations to 0, so that thing is all the way to the top. And I'm going to be taking this one out of the way as well. I'm going to be taking that sphere because I'm not really going to be needing it, and this is how my arm looks like right now. I'm going to go file, and I'm going to get the save. So this is going to be save scene as, and I'm going to be calling this skeletal animation part 1. So I'm going to hit save, I'm going to continue, and with that I will start talking about the joints. So in a way that I have all of these things to the side, I want to have a hierarchical chain, but this time of bones. The way that I will access bones is really simple. I will go here to my rigging, and I have a bunch of options here related to joints. So notice also that I have the perspective view and the front view enabled, which is going to be crucial for what I will do next. I'm going to click on this one. This is a create joint. I'm going to say, hey, you know, I want these joints to be created from here to here, and when I turn around, look at what happened, right? So that is not what I want. I wanted the joint to just go from here to here. And the thing is, you cannot really create joints in the perspective view without having issues. What Maya does is it's gonna raycast from where you clicked all the way to where it reached a certain plane, which is going to be this one. And in this case, if you're doing it in the orthographic view, then everything should be fine. So that is the first thing. Don't do your joints in the perspective view because you're gonna have issues. So in here, this is just the preview of the joints that I'm going to be creating down here. So I also want to enable something else. I'm going to click on create joint, and I will be creating the joint here, and then I'm going to make another one here and another one here and probably another one up here. Then I cannot see my joints because they're inside of my shape. So what I want to do is go to my shading, and I want to say X-ray joints. That way I get to see through the geometry and see my joints. So I'm gonna go shading and X-ray joints in this one as well. You have to do that for every display port that you have. So again, I'm gonna be deleting them, and I'm gonna show you yet another thing that is going to be really important for you to follow. Over here, I'm gonna click this once again, and I will hold X to try to snap to the grid. But the next joint that I create is going to have, I'm gonna press 4 so I get to see the wireframe. I'm gonna hold shift, and then I'm gonna go up. That is going to make the joint go perfectly straight. Okay, so I'm gonna make another one. I'm gonna eyeball it from here to here, and then another one from here to here. That is where all of the other faces are gonna be coming out of. So with that, I have this hierarchy. If I expand that up, that is going to be exactly the same hierarchy as I had over there. This one I will be calling shoulder, but as soon as I do that, Maya is going to say, well, you already have a shoulder object here, so I'm going to be taking over. And in this case, well, I just want to call these, let's call it J shoulder, as in joint shoulder. The next one is going to be J arm. And the next one is going to be J hand. Okay, so when I have those three, what I'm going to do is take a look at the spaces. What I mean with spaces is if I click on this joint, arm, like shoulder is at 0, 0, 0, rotation of zeros and scales of 1. If I take a look at the axis, the way that these guys are being displayed, I can do that a little bit better in this view. Notice how these axes don't correspond and I'm going to make a new selection here to just hide it. Notice how these joints do not align with this axis here. So X is growing this way, Z is growing this way, Y is growing up, and in here actually X is growing up, and then these axes are not located as they should. Well, that's how joints are usually created. The parent is going to be pointing towards the sun on the x-axis. The other two axes I can change. It is not going to be done in this series because it's a little bit more complicated and frustrating to align those. Maya has an option to align them by default, but for now I'm just gonna say, you know, keep them like that. The joint is going to be following or pointing towards the next children. What happens if a joint has two children? And that's something I can totally do. If I make a new joint and I say, well, this is also going to be the parent of joint 1, then see the hierarchy gets created, but the children is pointing in the same global space because there's nothing following. That happened to the very last joint that I had here in my hand. See, that hand doesn't have, it is aligned with the axis of the world because that's the very last one. It's not, doesn't have the need to point towards the children. So that, and the parent didn't change the orientation to the new point that was created. This is just going to be maintain the orientation to the first children that it creates after you drag and drop. If I make another children, just like this one, and I hit enter, that is going to change or finish the chain. When I put it inside of joint 1, joint 1 is not going to change the spaces pointing towards the children. You might be wondering, why is that important? For our purposes on this particular lesson, when we are beginning to learn how to move these, not a big deal, but it's going to be very, very, very relevant in some riggings. So imagine that this is an actual arm sticking out. Okay, so when you want to rotate the arm, you want to rotate the arm in such a way that it doesn't look like the character is in pain, like it's hurting, like an elbow is going to be having a very specific rotation point, and that is the only rotation point that is going to have. But if said rotation point is this axis, notice that all of these numbers are changing. The rotation X, rotation Y, and rotation Z. I can achieve that, but it's going to break into 3 numbers. It requires 3 rotation axes to happen. If I go back here and somehow I make it in such a way that only these lines are aligned, like in this case, then my rotation axis is only going to be a single value. And that is the great advantage of aligning the axis and the origin. We're not going to be doing that because it's a little bit more advanced than what we have time to do. So I'm just going to be killing up this branch. I'm not going to be using it anyways, but I'm going to try to do all of my axes pointing out in the same direction all at once. So that is the very first part of rigging animation. It is a complex topic. I'm going to be breaking it up into smaller lections, but this is the very first principle. You're going to have a single arm going up, and that is pretty much it for this part. So I'm going to continue in the next lesson.